Hey there subscribers, coming at you with a brand new video to talk about my opinion on the Aquaman Multiverse figures.
Do you trust me? Trust me, trust me, trust me, trust me.
Although I do like DC, their figures are not always that great. For example, this is a Justice League Batman. I believe the Batman vs. Superman one is worse than this, but I'm just using this as an example. This one always had like proportion mistakes. Like his torso is way too big. Like if you just look at this figure, something's off about it. They went with full detail on the armor to make it like kind of shimmer, and they have a nice paint job on his gloves and his belt. And he even got the gold tip on his shoe, and the other one was just plain. It was just like plain plastic. It was almost like a play school toy or something like that. But this one, they at least tried, and I was like, it's okay. For the price range, it's okay. $15, $20, yeah. Because if you want any more, it's going to cost more. So I was like, it's okay. But compared to Marvel figures, that Marvel Legends line, this is kind of like, no. So with that, I was like, let's see what happens to these multiverse figures. So the next toy line was pretty good. It was like the Clayface figure. And this one, Two-Face, I thought was a huge step in the right direction, because no longer were they going for the realistic look, they were going for a comic book look. So it matched the articulation and it matched the look of the figure. For example here, I thought they did a great job with all the articulation of the joints and the elbows and the wrist. He even came with different hands, so you could either have two guns in both hands, or this one where it's a scarred coin or a not scarred coin, which I thought was really great. Like, they're working on the accessories. It was a step in the right direction, and they were working with their limitations, and I thought that was cool. And the one I thought, holy smokes, huge step forward. I like where they're going, which was this Batwoman figure. She had a double jointed knee, and she could pose, and she had a swivel in her waist instead of that waist joint, that awful waist joint. And she could move her head, and not only could she swivel her hand, she also had a wrist joint, which was great. I liked that. She came with an interchangeable head. She also came with different hands. It was fantastic. It was awesome. And not only that, but she made a Build-A-Figure. She came with like a huge piece of Clayface. And I thought it was a good step in the right direction. So when Aquaman came out, I'm like, oh good. They're doing the right thing. They fixed the figures. This one actually looks pretty good. It looks like Jason Momoa. The brother looks like the brother. Black Manta looks fantastic. Mira looks great with that little shimmer. They look great in the box. Collected them. And then I started moving them and was like, wait a minute. They went back to the Batman figure. They went back to the Justice League toy line. Again, they were all limited. Even though he has like double jointed knees, it really doesn't do much on the Black Manta figure. He does come with his little sword, but that's basically it. Like, it would be cool if he came with an interchangeable head, but they didn't do that. And then the brother, great sculpt and all that, but again, just like the Black Manta, he has a fist on the left hand, and there is a joint there, but again, it doesn't do much because it's so detailed, because they're trying to make up for that lack of articulation. And the same thing here with Aquaman. He has the fist on the left hand, great amount of detail, looks like Jason Momoa, but it doesn't do that much. It's very limited to what it can do, and that's very disappointing to me. Even with the Mira, with this Batwoman, double jointed knee, single joint, and the shoe is an awful design. I'm sure it's accurate to the movie, but it doesn't work as a figure, and it disappointed me. And she has two hands free. Luckily, none of them are a fist, but since she's so limited with her arm range, she can't really hold her staff, her little stick. And this one has a solid piece of plastic hair. She has a solid plastic piece of hair, and she can't move her head barely. It's just disappointing because they look great. This looks like a great figure. It's got the shimmer. It looks like the movie. I wish her hair was a little bit redder, but it looks great. Same thing with Aquaman. Looks great. When you see it on the shelf, you're like, oh man, that looks wicked cool, but the lack of articulation in the figure and the lack of variety, since they don't come with alternate hands or alternate heads, you're stuck with them, and they all put up their fist in the air, and it kind of looks like the Olympic poster from 1968, and it's very disappointing. It's just because I think they're trying to do this for kids, so like, hey, kids can have them fight with their fists, and it's on the opposite ends. But there's already a toy line for the younger kids. It's like $10 for the figures. It's half price. These ones are supposed to be for the collectors, us, who buy the figures, and the fist on each hand, it's goofy as hell. It's a step backward. The lack of variety between the figures, and they all have the left hand fist. Goes back to the Justice League days and the Batman versus Superman days, and it's a detriment to the toy line that they look so great, but you can't do much with them. It's kind of disappointing. It's not even kind of disappointing, it is disappointing. And just like, I wish this came with an alternate head. You think it would, because they're like, hey, alternate heads are in, alternate hands are in, and it's not. It's just his Black Manta helmet. And it's just, I don't know. And I would want to recommend them, but you can't pose them in any other way other than just the static pose of them standing like that. You can't have them look like they're fighting or doing action poses like you could do with Batwoman or Two-Face. You can't pose them like these guys, because you could actually have them like posed and like with the coin, and he has the gun out like, you can't get at me, Batman. And then you're gonna have her like swinging and doing like a pose where she has her rope here, and since she has an alternate hand, you can actually put a rope there and make it look like she's swinging down. You could do so much with that, but with these, it's just stagnant poses, and it's just lame. It looked like they were on the right track, and that new toy line looks great, the one where you build the Lobo, but even that Superman goes back to this old design. Whatever sculpt this is, they used a lot, and I can't stand it. I can't stand the sculpt. I'm sure whatever they have is like this, and they just sculpt it down to sell it like this. And they could be doing so much better. I know Mattel lost the toy line. It's going to change in 2020, I believe. I think Trendmasters is the company that's taking over the DC toy line, but hopefully they do a better job than Mattel did with these DC figures. Wanted to get my opinion out there. The Aquaman figures look great, but very disappointing because they can't do much. Hopefully you enjoyed that video. Leave a comment if you agree, leave a comment if you disagree, but hopefully things will improve in the future and get better. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. Take care, everybody.